Oh my god, he's going to go around the inside. He's going to send it. He's taking the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix on the last lap. Matt Turner takes the win in a remarkable race. We have teammates coming together. How devastating! Hello everybody, welcome to week 3 of the IFL F3 season. We are halfway through qualifying here at Suzuka International, and I have Carlos with me today up in the broadcasting booth. How are you doing today, Carlos?
Pretty good. How about you, man?
Just excited for some Sunday racing. We have our F3s this morning and then F1s later on today. So Sunday is our day of racing. I'm super excited. We have a 30-plus car grid today, and our qualifying right now is looking really tight. We were talking about it before. We have Tony Jimenez up in first place. Tony did a really good job last week. Brandon Walker in second. Joachim Flodman in third. Jake Potts in fourth. And Tieko Kriegsman to round off the top 5. And this track today, let's take a look at our track. We have some cooler temps compared to last week, but last week we had such a hot track in Brazil, middle of summer. The sun was just pounding down on the track, but I mean, even today, almost up to 100 degrees compared to when we were practicing this week. It's been down in the 80s, so a little bit of a temperature difference. What does that do to the car for these guys, Carlos?
Well, I think, from my experience, you might be setting laps of 2 seconds quicker on ideal conditions, and then you just come to a harder track and you feel like you're so much slower. And then, you actually end up comparing to guys running in the same conditions, and you actually figure out, okay, maybe the harder track just is messing up with the tires. You might need some different tire pressures to make up for it, but yeah, in general, harder tracks just means slower times.
Yep, and we were seeing all throughout the week 151s is our fast qualifying times, and our fastest is a 152.49, so about a second and a half difference compared to our practice this week, and that's about that 10 to 15 degree difference that we see on track. The track conditions today, we have a little bit of an overcast, it would seem, so the track might start to cool down, but with it being at almost 100 degrees to start and these cars running 30 plus cars on the grid, we might not see too much of a cool down.
No, certainly not. With the cars just hitting up the track, even laying down rubber might speed up a bit the lap times, but just the cars just hit up the track so much. I used to feel this in another private league I used to race a few years ago. You needed to be the first guy out on track in qualifying, otherwise the times would just be slower and slower from that point on. And you used to do actually 3-stage qualifying like Formula 1, so that's breaking up the sessions would kind of help, but still the times would just be slower and slower with more cars hitting up the track.
Yep, yeah, and as our session goes on, you can see Brandon Walker set his time fairly early. Julie Redman, both CUDA-Works drivers up there, doing a really good job together to try and fend off the DriveX drivers of Tony Jimenez, and Victor Barris, I believe, is out for us this week, but they should have a driver in, I think it is Arturo. Maybe not Arturo is for turn 1 racing, but I know they have a driver somewhere in this field. We have such a big field, guys, that it's sometimes hard to keep track of all these drivers and all the
I think
fill-ins.
Victor Barris is just giving P2 a chance, so he is not participating in this round.
Yeah, Victor has been very dominant in the first 2 rounds. It's a shame that we probably won't see him today, but that's going to open the door, like you said, for Brandon Walker. We know is super quick. Julie Redmond, super quick. Obviously, proving it up there on the timing tower right now. Flodman, he's normally been around mid-pack, just in the points at 10th to 11th place spot. A little bit of bad luck for Flodman, but he has been pushing those times this week. He's gotten a lot of practice on track, so we'll see how he does today. Jake Potts putting in some good time today as well, getting some practice early this morning. Tieco, I know, has been getting practice all week, and he's not only getting practice for himself, he's encouraging everybody else to get out there too. Always asking, let's get some practice in, guys. Let's get on the track. And it's good to have drivers to drive around, because it gives you that racecraft that you don't really get when you're practicing by yourself. So it's sometimes a really good thing to have, is that experience driving around other drivers. But right now, Tony Jimenez just a half second ahead of Brandon Walker, but the rest of the field is really tight. I mean, from the very, very front, Tony Jimenez, to the very, very back, we have probably some unfortunate laps there starting around Arturo, just not some optimal ones, but even 3.5 seconds back, with these slipstreams that these guys are going to have, it's going to be a close race, almost all race. And with 30 cars, these cars are going to be fairly scrunched up on track.
Yeah, hopefully not literally crunched up with each other into turn one on something. But just coming on from what you were saying, Tony seems to have like a pretty good safety net there from between him and P2. Wonder if he's still out on track, or if he just called it a day and is resting to be fresh for the race.
Yep, as we can see him here, he's still out on track, but he's practicing his pit entries, and I think he's getting just comfortable for the race, because we have about 6 minutes left of qualifying, and what that's going to do for us is let these guys get another run, maybe 2 to 3 laps, warm up the tires, and then get one last run down the straight as the time expires. It is something to be said when these drivers can time that very, very perfectly to be the last one out on track, just come across the line with a few seconds left, and try and get the optimal lap with almost no fuel, heated tires.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into the preparation just for qualifying alone, let alone the race.
Sometimes with these tires, it depends really, but with some tires, you might be better off, instead of putting just enough fuel for the out lap and a hot lap, you might be better off actually putting fuel in for like 5 laps. Mm-hmm. And your 5th lap will actually be better, because the tires will be in a better position. I tend to find that sometimes with the 3.5, but it's only in some situations. Obviously, you think, okay, maybe like the first hot lap is where the tires are the best. You just need to keep it in the optimal temperature range, but that's mostly for like the Pirelli tires seem to work in that way. Some of these other tires in iRacing, I think these F3 tires are Hankook, and then you have the 3.5R Bridgestone or Michelin, I think. These tires seem to work a bit differently sometimes. They seem to need to be rubbered in or something like that for a few laps, and then you'll get a better lap, obviously, when you're just about to run out of fuel.
Yep, and that's the thing, is getting your optimal temperature for your tires while they have the most life left in them with your lowest fuel. And from my experience in the F3, it normally takes till about lap 3. So your out lap, you're really throwing it around to try and heat the tires up. Your in lap, or your second lap, sorry, is really trying to throw the car around, get your tires up to temp, and we're seeing a not so great performance here as we are on Vincent Saint. He's just trying to get back on the track, and he gets in the way there of one of our
I think it's a bit inspired by WRC. Instead of running Formula 1, is running Rally.
Yeah, right.
And there's another one there.
Yep, and this is just the end of qualifying. We see this all the time where
Yeah.
the drivers are just pushing as hard as they can, sliding off the track a tiny bit, going over curbs. We see Krigsman here. He is, pushing, trying to get that time, get ahead of Potts and Flodman. But it really is going to be a hard feat to do, because I think the sun is now out, as we can see the sunnier track here. That is going to force our drivers to drive on a little bit hotter of a track. And we can even pop up our weather graphic here. And our weather, we're showing that we are at, the track is now down to 80 degrees, so it's actually getting a lot cooler than what it was. We can double check on our other race graphic, but see, our race graphic here says 99 degrees track temp, but I believe that our...
But then if you see on the weather, it says 70 something, so I don't know which of that one is correct, but if I had to guess, I'd see...
Yep, so the ambient is 73 and our track temperature is 80.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In our graphic here, so one of our graphics is wrong. I'm going to trust the one that we have up here on the right, so it's looking like 80 degrees might be where we're at as of right now, which means our track is fairly good conditions for these drivers to get going.
Yeah, I'm actually curious to see what some of these drivers can do, because I remember racing them in when the F2 grid was still open to everybody. Drivers like, well, obviously Frederick Larson, he made the cover of the first magazine because he had such a good performance in the first F2 race. Yeah. Everybody was surprised by him. Like he's an F3 driver, just goes into the quicker car, and which would be supposedly harder to drive, and it just does that extremely good performance. He got a podium. He actually deserved a P2, but he decided to give it to me actually, because he was not racing the series. It was not his main series. Yep. But he actually deserved the P2 there. So it's a great performance from him. I'm keeping my eye on him. But yeah, some other drivers here, I recognize them, and I want to see what they can do. I remember racing Martinez, Janusz Kauskas, and Danny O'Keefe a few years ago in another private league. I'm curious to see how they've improved from then.
Yep. Yeah, we have a lot of new drivers this season. I mean, our grid compared to last season is been turned on its head. I mean, from the drivers that we have in here: Brandon Walker, Julie Redmond, James Miller, Jake Potts, Joe Watts, Eli Cannon, Danny O'Keefe, Eric Beddoes, Luke Smith, and that's about it. The rest of the grid is all new drivers as of this season, so it's great to see, a bunch of new drivers. And then a lot of our F2 grid consists of the F3 drivers that were in the F3 that moved on up into the F2, just because that's our natural progression in our league structure. It's a tiered league. F3 moves to F2, F2 moves to F1. And, we see some of these drivers just gaining some great experience, moving up, feeling more comfortable in a car. Like you said, even Frederick Larson, he jumped up. Teammate Danny O'Keefe just had a good time to jump in front of him. But with Frederick Larson jumping up, it showed that he might be able to compete at that F2 level. But then you have races like today. He's down in 9th right now, so it might have just been a really good track, a really good car, really good setup for that day. And Frederick's now down in 9th with his teammate Danny O'Keefe in 8th right ahead of him. That's going to be a great 8-9 for Orion Racing.
And let's see what they do in regards to team orders at the start, at least. See if they race each other or if they want to just make it up the field. Let's see what the strategy is.
Yep, and we have Julie Redmond, who's putting down a lap right now. We're going to look at Arturo. Oh, he's trying to check his pit strategy out. Martinez Janikowskis.
So any laps starting now will not be valid because the checkered flag is out. So only the laps that are finishing will count if you improve.
Correct. So we'll have, Janikowskis is just going to reset and get off the track. Yeah. We have Flodman along with Joseph Colley, who is now coming across. Joseph Colley, new to coming into the pits. Let's see, we have Rakowskis coming across the last chicane here. Let's see if he can improve his time.
It doesn't seem to be improving, I think. All yellow sectors. Yep.
Yellow sectors there. That'll be hard to improve upon with the yellows, and that's just more heat from the cars, more track rubber being laid down.
Yeah, as I said, it's probably a harder track, and it's basically impossible to set a quicker lap, as we have I think Jackson car here also 2 seconds slower than Paul, not able to improve on his lap. But we have Luke Mitchell here with a few green sectors. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, this last sector is crucial. This last chicane is really hard to nail perfectly every single time, and he just grabs a little bit too much.
There's no improving like that.
Yep.
But it was on a good one. It was on a good one. He's P15, 2 seconds down on pole. Maybe he could have earned a few positions there.
Yep.
Unfortunate for him to have that incident there, but fair, because it's very easy to spin there. I've done it myself a couple of times.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what these qualifying and practice sessions are for. Warm up going on right now. We'll jump with the first car that pops up on track. It looks like that's going to be Jake Potts. Let's jump and join him in the Lumos eMotorsports car. Right now, you can even see it. There's almost like a little bit of almost a haze with our humidity that we have. We have a 73% humidity, so that air is dense. These engines are going to be able to give more power because of that, but also it's just a sticky, muggy kind of track that you have out there. Track temp sitting at 79 degrees now. And, these warm-up sessions are crucial for drivers because they get to go from qualifying to a full fuel load, and that is a huge difference in how this car is going to handle. You're going to feel a bunch of understeer. You're going to feel, your braking zone is going to be way earlier than it normally is. Your accelerating is going to need to be a little bit more feathered rather than just stomping on the gas with these cold tires. So it's a great time for drivers to really get a feel for their car and how it's going to be off the starting grid.
And even just that, like some drivers might even go to the point where if they had the time during the week, they could have developed a different setup for the race and not just add the fuel. Mm-hmm. So they might use this warm-up session, these 5 minutes, to get used to a different level of downforce, because sometimes you might want a stiffer car with more downforce for the race than you want for quali, for example, or the other way around, depending on your strategy. Because in the race you are counting on overtaking, while on quali maybe you're relying on having a clean track in front of you to set the fastest lap time. It all depends on the track and what you can do with the car. So some drivers might even have a totally different setup than from quali to this warm-up session.
Yep.
Either that, or they can use the 5 minutes to just walk around their house and relax for the race.
Yep. Yeah, I know. A lot of drivers will get up and stretch out. Sitting in a chair for so long or sitting in a cockpit for so long, it takes its toll on you. So we see Jake Potts, he practiced his pit entry. We also have coming down the pit lane here, Brandon Walker practiced his pit entry. And it's a lot different of a feeling coming into the pits on fuel as to low fuel. So, and then we see here Remy van Velthelugen. He is a fill-in, I believe, for a driver here. But these drivers out on track, they're just getting used to this condition with full fuel load, and Team Banana here with Hjalmar Ahlberg, they're going to be looking for some better results. They've had some okay results, but they want to be higher up in the points and in the finishing here. And we only have a minute and a half until warm-up is done, and then we'll have 1 minute of gridding period, and then we'll be going green. It's almost time here.
And coming into this race, just because before the race is when it's fun to do it. Who do you think is gonna be our podium today?
So today, I'm feeling like Tieco Krigsman's gonna get up there on the podium. I also feel that Brandon Walker has been really pushing for a podium here, and he's hungry for one. So I feel Brandon Walker might get up there. And then Tony Jimenez, obviously our pole sitter by about a half a second. I think he will probably be our pole for or our race winner today if he can keep it on track and there's no incidents that happen.
Yeah, that's the most important here, because we saw a big pile up yesterday in F1, and that can certainly happen here. So yeah, I mean, if you're in pole is already a start to not to get caught up in all that. That's why qualifying is so important. But yeah, with that half a second advantage he has to P2, I would bet on him as a race winner as well. And then I want to say maybe Tieco and Brandon as well, but I want to bet on some comeback from even out of the top 10. I want to bet on someone to get on the podium from there. I don't know who, but I want to bet on something like that.
Yep, and warm-up is complete. We have 1 minute now until the grid is set and we go green. And this is the exciting time. Drivers' hearts are pumping. We're all anxious to see how turn one's going to go. And like you said, turn one's going to be crucial. As everybody can keep it together in turn one, then we'll have a long close race here. And we see our grid right now. Everybody lined up. We're going to focus here on Tony Jimenez. Give a little bit more widened of a view here. Hide our timing tower for this, because this is going to be one heck of a turn one. We have almost 30 cars. Here we go. 1 minute is up. Lights are displayed. Lights are on, and we are lights out. We are green here. Tony Jimenez getting a good jump. Ooh, really bad start for somebody in the back. We have a big pile up right down the home straight. Our top half of our grid gets off to a great start. Tony Jimenez out to a big jump. And we definitely should be getting a yellow flag for that.
Yeah, I think that should be a yellow for sure.
Yep, and there it is. We have had quite a kerfuffle in the back. Something didn't happen. Either somebody stalled or somebody had a spin out and just took out half the grid there in the back. So let's go back and see what happened here.
It seems like car number 11 just was on the grid, stopped. Martinez just didn't get off the grid for some reason. I don't know if he stalled. Yeah, I think it was just not on the correct gear or something.
Yeah, we see.
It actually sounds like his car is off. Is turned off.
Now let's take a look here. Jackson Carr on our graphic, and
yeah,
and obviously nowhere really to go for any of these drivers. They end up getting going eventually, but big
something must have happened with Martinez's car, because if you go on the onboard on the cockpit view, his car was not working. I don't know if he turned it off unintentionally, but there was no engine sound from his car. Yeah, just didn't move.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Something must have happened to where he stalled, or his car just didn't want to turn on or something. But we have a big wreck due to it. These drivers are, you can see he gets going there, but he has no downforce in the back now.
Yeah.
Let's try and go back to him. We'll jump into a, try and jump into a cockpit view for him here. Yeah, you can see he just doesn't go anywhere. He's trying. You can see he's trying, but he's not going. His rev limiter's not on. He's not. His car's just not started up, and then you can see he starts up here, reverses, and then gets going. So definitely will be looked at by the stewards in the after race stewarding sessions that we have each week. But yeah, that's a big mistake there from Janikowskis, and that's gonna cost him, because he's gonna have some repairs that need done, and he's gonna have to come. And then he's not gonna have any rear wing. He's just gonna be hurting himself here.
Yeah, there's no way that car is going anywhere today, I think.
Yeah, that's a big sad moment for Janikowskis there.
Luckily, Darius Rakauskas, his teammate, was able to just barely avoid him at the start. And then he got collected by, I think, Eric Beddoes, which, got the worst end of it.
You can see here, smart move by Allberg just to slow down and stop. I mean, this is a proper way to deal with a scenario like this, is just slow down, let it all happen in front of you. Everybody's, out of sorts. Everything's kind of happening on track. People are turned around, facing different directions. So great job.
Because, the safety car is probably coming on, because, multi-car pile up like that, obviously the smart move is just to stop, and the safety car is gonna come out, so you're gonna catch the pack anyway. So
yeah, it's a rough one. We can try and look here at a couple of the other drivers that were on track while this was going on, and right up in the action, just boom. Wow, great avoidance here by Joseph Cawley. He gained about 5 to 6 positions just out of that alone. Yeah, and we've seen this before in some races. It's not common, but we've seen it before. Thinking back, Anthony Wallace in Canada had done this, and it was a little bit of an incident, but yeah, it was definitely something that happened that we don't want to see happen again. But that's why we have our F3 league is our development league. These guys are still learning.
So apparently all the drivers are already collected behind the safety car, and then you have Tony just warming up his tires, and the other guys behind him choosing not to do that for some reason. But yeah, it seems to maybe something they don't, or it's just I think the smart thing to do is just warm up your tires. But I don't think it matters too much, because at this speed you cannot warm up your tires even if you're weaving, so there's not much you can do there. He's just trying to lock up his tires, or trying to brake, and it's just locked up there, the front. You don't want to do that, because you'll run out of tires very quickly. But that's another way to heat up your tires, is just to speed up and then brake hard. It'll keep temperatures in the brakes as well. That's a smart move by him.
Yep, yeah, it's you'll wear that tire down, and that can overheat for sure. But yeah, it's definitely a way to keep those tires warm. Sometimes overly warm, and then like you said, you can wear them down quite quickly if you're trying to do that. And you can see this field, starting to get a little chippy here right at the end of that where that yellow was thrown, and the cars here are trying to figure out where they all stack up. With some great accident avoidance here, just coming up into the S's. This is a real tight spot for cars to try and navigate side by side. It's just, you use so much of the track in the S's, so I can't wait for our restart, which should be coming up here in just a lap or so.
Yeah, the safety car is now on the main straight, and it should be green next lap, I think.
Yep, yeah, we'll
Let's
see the light on the safety car should be going out. Yep, there it is. So we will be green next time by. And you can see just how big our grid of cars is today. I love that view down the straightaway. Just shows how much talent we have in the grid today. We have so many drivers and you know, some unfortunate guys going off into the pit lane on the left, but just a great field of drivers here. Almost 30.
Most of these drivers trying to make it to F1 in a couple seasons time, probably.
Yep, yeah.
And that's why the F3 grid is like open to everyone. So these drivers, some of them will most likely make it to F1, others might stay here or move up to F2. But there's just an insane amount of cars here.
Yep, and we see the big range of talent. Tony Jimenez up here in front, probably one of these drivers that will eventually make their way up to F1. We make our top 3 drivers of each division jump up to the next division each season. So our winners and podium placers of F3 will move up to F2, and then F2 top 3 will move up to F1. And then if need be, our F1 drivers, the bottom 3 drivers, will move down into the F2 again to develop their skills and to try and get back up into that F1 spot.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that, qualifying by half a second certainly means you deserve a spot up there. And I'm curious to see what Tony can do here to the end of the season. But I also wanted to see him race Victor. Actually, I was actually curious to see what Victor would do, but apparently Victor is missing today. And I think Tony is P5 in the championship, tied with James Mollier. So he's got a lot of catching up to do. But I think we're gonna see a fight between these two guys at the end of the season.
Yep, yeah, I definitely think so. Even if it's between teammates with Jimenez and Barris, they both are doing such a great job so far, and they will fight each other. We've seen it time and time again that normally your teammates are your closest comparison, and also the people you're fighting the most, because you're just you're that close in talent. You normally are finding drivers that are close in talent with you, and you're finding drivers that you're uh-oh. I just showed that we have a big crash somewhere. Uh-oh.
Oh, seems like some trouble under safety car, maybe?
Maybe. Let's see. I really hope not. I think it's just because they slowed down to a certain speed.
No, okay. And you got the alarm bells.
Yep.
For an incident.
Yep. Yeah, if you slow down to a certain...
We've seen pileups behind the safety car multiple times before.
Yep.
So it wouldn't be too unbelievable that something like that happened. But I think it was just a slowdown.
Yep. Yeah, if the cars get within a certain speed, if they get too slow, then our system will show a crash or a wreck. So we when everybody slowed down there under the bridge, it showed that half our field wrecked on our track.
And then you're gonna have a slowdown here as well, because I think Tony is gonna start backing up the pack to let the safety car go, and then he can just pick where he can restart. Because he gets to choose as soon as the safety car turns into the pits, he can just go. So yeah, I think we'll see here after 130R is just gonna go start backing up the pack.
Yep. Yeah,
to get the gap to the safety car.
See, the safety car is probably a couple car lengths ahead. Jimenez knows what he's doing here. He's going to keep close and then let that safety car, like you said, just trail off and then go into the pits, and then he has full control of the field. We have a lot of anxious drivers once again, just like the start of the race.
Oh, look at that.
These drivers want to go. That's a beautiful,
so many drivers there.
Beautiful picture here. So many drivers. We have the full straight before the left-hand turn. Full of drivers. But
let's just hope nothing like that happens again. Hopefully you won't have any stalling drivers here on the restart, but some pileup can also happen with over 25 drivers still in the race.
Yep, and so we see Jimenez is staying fairly close to the safety car here, and we're going to be going green in just a moment. Yep, there goes the safety car into the pits. Let's see how Jimenez takes it. And there he goes. He's off. He gets a fairly good jump. What a great view here. These cars all trying to get that draft and that slipstream. Jimenez going into the corner. Way ahead. We have 3 cars right on top of each other here. Jake Potts right on the bumper of the car in front of him.
And everyone seems to have made it cleanly through turn 1. There's some side-by-sides here into the S's.
Yep, I think we have some side-by-sides, but so
and someone
far,
is off. Someone is off into the gravel. I think that was Eric Beddoes.
Yeah, Eric Beddoes went off, but doesn't look like he has taken anybody with him, which is good news. Great tight racing here. We have Jake Potts. Yeah. Ooh, somebody slid off there. Looks like that was a CudaWorks car.
Oh.
Ooh, a couple cars in the back there.
There's Arturo Mayorga is gone. His real wheel is just broken. There's no way he's gonna. Yeah, he's just towed. Yeah.
Yep, and we're seeing some cars here trying to get going after the field goes by. And it's such a long field. So many cars are trying to go by. Ooh, we have some real big fighting here. Krigsman fighting with Walker. And they're going to be going into the left-hander, the high-speed left-hander here. Walker thinks better of it. Ooh, maybe he's not. He's going to go down on the inside. This is going to make him go wide. He slips right in behind him.
The P2.
Big braking zone under cold tires here. Krigsman gets a little bit of a gap. Some fantastic driving here. Brandon Walker only a half second behind. As we see the rest of our field coming out from around the corner there. Some cars in the pits damaged and destroyed. Ooh, we're going to see a move here. Eli Cannon coming into the turn. And he gets passed by Danny O'Keefe. Teams who are affiliated but not the same teams, so you got to think maybe there's some driving orders there, kind of like Red Bull and AlphaTauri. Ooh, James Molaire.
I think I heard Eli just saying go on by to Danny O'Keefe. So yeah, that may be the strategy. Maybe they're on different planes, or he just knows it's better to not fight the teammates so they can make it up the field. Yep, maybe that's the plan. And someone's off.
Yep, we have somebody off coming back on in T1, going into T2, and that was Darius Rakauskas. James Molaire took a pit stop under his own power, so it was not a damaged pit stop, I don't think. But let's jump back up to our leaders here. Krigsman 0.8 seconds back, Brandon Walker 0.8 seconds back. And they are fighting hard for that top spot. I don't think Jimenez is going to run away with it today.
Oh, there's still a big gap, but I think maybe with a mistake, then Tieco can get in the slipstream, and it's just it's a big job to defend from him, from what I've seen. So let's hope these gaps close up from P1 to P3, because I want to see a fight with the 3 podium spots.
Yep, and we see Larson coming into.
And there's a spin behind at the spoon curve. Joel Abney, I don't know what happened, but his air intake seems to be broken. Maybe. Oh, there was contact with Martinez Januskauskas.
We have Frederick Larson working on Jake Potts here. Looks like Larson is going to go ahead, but he's going to be on the outside. Jake Potts on the inside. Can these guys hold it? Looks like very close, but Jake Potts is holding it. Frederick Larson holding it as well. doing a little bit of switchback, back and forth. Jake Potts right on the bumper of Frederick Larson. And this is so hard to do through these S's, just keeping right on the guy in front of you.
Yeah, and if you mess one up, you mess all of them up onto the Dunlop curve, or maybe even the Degner.
We're going to jump to Steve Bunting as well. He is right in a sandwich here between Joseph Cawley and Jackson Carr. And this one's hard. You can't even back off to try and give a little bit of room because the car behind you is right there.
Oh, they're so close.
On the inside. Wow. Bunting kind of squeezed there. Great move there. Ooh, a little bit of a lockup there, but great move there by Jackson Carr. And Jackson Carr moving right behind, trying to go into the hairpin maybe on a pass. Nope, not going to be able to get it done. Ooh, he does. Jackson Carr is going to go by Joseph Cawley. Cawley going a little bit wide there, and that's going to leave the door open for Steve Bunting. And we're going to unfortunately leave this chase because we have Krigsman making a run on Jimenez.
There's so many fights with these cars. You can't keep up with all of them.
Yep, Jake Potts side by side here with Frederick Larson. Potts being passed earlier on the last lap, but Potts might be able to get a run down the straightaway here. Potts dropping back a little bit too far. Krigsman, though, going into T1 right behind Jimenez. He's going to be pushing up. Wow, what a what a bunch of battles we have going on. Tons of people within a second of each other. But this is for first, and this is our closest battle on track.
He's just going to lose a lot of time here on the S's, but he seems to have made a big improvement on his pace because a few laps ago he was 0.8 of a second behind.
There he goes. Slides off. Brandon Walker's going to go by. Krigsman's got to be careful here not to go too far onto the track. And he's going to have a lot of cars passing him up there. Jake Potts passing him up. He's going to have Danny O'Keefe right behind him now. And he's going to have some overheated tires. That's not going to be good for him. He's definitely got the speed to get back up there. Yep. He's just got to be careful going up that hill, especially with low downforce on the rear end. But Danny O'Keefe right on the backside.
And now with the mental aspect of it, is probably now too nervous and is probably pissed off at himself for a few corners at least here. He might make another mistake very soon here if he doesn't get over that. Sometimes that can happen very, very easily.
Yep, the dominoes.
You just get mad at yourself and then you start focusing on, oh man, I made a mistake, and then you just keep making more and more mistakes.
Yep, the dominoes just start to fall. And we see Potts moving up on Larson here to within 0.7 seconds. Danny O'Keefe right behind Krigsman with 0.6 seconds. Two battles right back to back here. I think Potts has more downforce, so he might be making up his time in the slower turns and the infield section. But on these straightaways, it seems like Potts is just not able to make a huge move on Larson, and we see Krigsman making a move on Potts. Perhaps he is right behind him.
He's probably going to make the move on the back straight because he's just too slow on the straights. Yep. Jake Potts.
Yeah, Potts should be able to make up his time right here. Gets a good entry to each turn. He's holding his turn very well. Like you said, you mess one of these up, you mess the whole section up, because then your exit to one is your entrance to the other.
And I think Jake Potts probably made a mistake here with going by choosing going with a higher downforce, because you cannot really overtake on the quick corners here. So even if he had a little less downforce, he could still keep someone behind him, like Tieco, for example. Here he could still keep him behind. Oh, he just makes a mistake there again.
Yep,
misses the apex.
Runs a tiny bit wide there. It looks like he might have made a correction.
I think now Tieco is gonna get him into the back straight if he keeps it together here.
Yep, Tieco getting closer and closer.
Yeah, as I was saying, and then in the straight you just lose all of that speed, and then you're just gonna get overtaken. So I think he made the wrong decision. But Tieco still got a bad spoon curve here, so maybe J Potts survives to leave another day.
Yeah, we have Tieco closing the gap here. to within a tenth of a second. He's going to go on the outside. Jake Potts not giving him anything, though. Jake Potts on the inside. Ooh, that's a tight one. Ooh, and Krigsman goes a tiny bit wide off onto the apron. Big braking zone. Wow, they make it stick. Potts is still trying to fight him off. Krigsman's right behind him. And Krigsman with that lower downforce should be able to overtake Potts here down the straightaway. Let's see if Potts takes that.
Just locked up the rear slightly there, and that's why he was almost spinning. But now he's trying to follow on the slipstream, and he's certainly going to make a move here, no?
Ooh, Potts still able to hold him. Potts made a later block maneuver there in the F3, and he was able to hold Krigsman off. Krigsman had to go way down to the inside to try and make his move stick, and it just didn't. Potts should be able to hold him off for another lap, but this is hurting Krigsman because he's hungry to get back up to Walker and Jimenez, who were the drivers that were around him earlier. But Potts is making it a huge task to try and get by.
There's a big gap already to Jake Potts here, and Tieko's getting held up there because Tieko's got the pace to be one of the front runners, and Jake Potts is just holding him up there. Look at the gap between Jake Potts and Frederick Larsen there.
Yep, and that is probably due to a little bit of the fighting that's going on here. Potts and Larsen were fighting, and then Tieko came up and started fighting Potts, and Potts just, he's looking at the guy behind him trying to fight him off, so he wasn't concentrating on trying to get by Larsen anymore, and Larsen's made that gap. Joe Watts has a little bit of a gap on Larsen as well. Krigsman.
Tieko is close now.
Yep, let's see.
Maybe can he make the move in 130R?
Let's see. He's definitely got the run on him to within a tenth of a second. He gets the inside on him this time. Let's see how this goes. This is going to be side by side again. Ooh, so close. Potts right there. Ooh, just gets tapped a tiny bit. Somehow he keeps it together. Wow.
They made contact, I think. I think that was contact.
Yep, there was definite. It might have been a little netcode, but definitely contact there. That is not a place you want to try and fit two cars wide. And now we have O'Keefe on Potts. It seems Potts just falling down the order. We also have Sean Roberts right now. Ooh, making a turn. Last turn here. Move on Luke Mitchell, as they're going to be going down the straightaway side by side. Luke Mitchell gaining a little bit of ground on him. And Mitchell able to go around the outside on Roberts. Roberts doesn't have the braking ability there to keep him at bay. But Sean Roberts isn't going to back off and just let him by. Uh-oh, Jake Potts has crashed, it would seem.
Ooh, that's a bit unfortunate.
Yep, and we're going to have these drivers, Sean Roberts and Luke Mitchell, the fight that we saw behind, coming up right behind them.
And then I think maybe that he doesn't have the pace, but I think Danny O'Keefe could be playing a big role here in helping Frederick Larsen keep that P4 from Tieko. Yep. Because if Danny can stay in touch with Tieko, he can attack him and make him lose time. So maybe we'll see some team play here.
Yeah, we definitely could. And Frederick Larsen might even be able to hold up Krigsman enough to help O'Keefe get close. It'd be a huge team effort there, almost like we see with Perez and Verstappen in real life. Perez, the.
But I think Frederick Larsen is going to be a bit too afraid to just stay back to delay Tieko, because he knows Tieko is probably quicker than him. So he's probably not going to risk that. I don't know. And meanwhile, you have Tony Jimenez there, just 4 seconds up the field, running away with the victory, with the fastest lap as well, 5/10 up on the second fastest lap.
Yep. Yeah, he's just running away with it at this point. I think Tieko Krigsman would have been the only one that could have really pushed behind him. Brandon Walker too. He had a little bit of a slide in one of his turns, but you can see these cars are still making it close, making it a tight race. We're going to jump to Jackson Carr, who is trying to make a move here on, I believe that is Julie Redman. He's got the slip, but will he be able to make the move? Nope, Jackson Carr cannot make the move on Julie, and he will stay behind her, at least for the immediate future. We have Flodman behind, though, making a move on Luke Smith here. Luke Smith has the inside, but Floodman has the outside speed. Makes it look easy on that one. Luke Smith must have that high downforce. Floodman getting tons of speed, and we should be able to see Luke Smith push back and try and close that gap. Julie Redmond here pushing back up as well. Julie Redmond behind Vincent Saint. She's trying to get up into the points here. She was in the top 5 for qualifying. She definitely has the pace. She just needs to get through the traffic here.
And Tieko just set 1/10 slower lap than the fastest lap, so he certainly has the pace to keep up with Tony, but he's got a bunch of cars in the middle, which are like half a second slower than him, so either he just makes the move fast or he's gonna lose a lot of time to Tony Jimenez here, and no pit stop is gonna save him.
Yep. Yeah, the only thing that might save a driver in this instance is if we have a big wreck somewhere that, we have 3 cars on the track that are involved, then that is when we will throw a yellow, and that would be a big equalizer. We see it. This is more of the American side. We see it in NASCAR. The competition caution is what it's called. Ooh, and we have a little bit of side by side. Ooh, maybe a little bit of a tap on Vincent Saint from Julie Redmond. They were battling hard. Julie Redmond. Ooh, she might have some damage there. Maybe that, or maybe she might have gotten a penalty for cutting the corner if that's what made that contact happen. We'll jump up to her teammate Brandon Walker, who is flying right now in 2nd place. But like I was saying, in the American series, we have NASCAR. In NASCAR, they do competition cautions. So the field gets spread out too far due to events throughout the race. They bring them back together with a caution, and it's a competition caution is what they call it. So we don't do that here in the Formula Series, but something like that at the end of a race would be a great equalizer, kind of like the NASCAR Series does.
Yeah, I think it feels a bit unfair, but that's probably from my European Formula fan over American NASCAR and Indy fan. That to me feels a bit unfair, especially if someone has managed to pull a big gap. Mm-hmm. Because that's exactly what happened if you want to look at it that way in Abu Dhabi in Formula 1, and everyone's complaining about that being unfair. Mm-hmm. Ignoring all the lapped cars and everything. That was basically a competition caution that happened there. If you wanna see it that way, and obviously if the driver in front has pulled a big gap, it's gonna feel unfair to them. But if those are the rules, everyone knows it can happen at some point.
Yep. Yeah, and Tieko Krigsman just setting the fastest lap of the race. Great job by him. And yeah, I'm in agreement. You work really hard to build up a gap to move your car farther up the grid and farther away from other cars. Plays into your strategy. The competition caution, I think, great for NASCAR, but I'm not sure that it has a home here in the Formula Series at all. So you see these cars.
I don't think many people are fans of it.
Yep. Yeah, and we see these cars just spread way throughout the track. We'll go to, instead of an interval, we'll go to a gap, and you can see cars all the way from 4 seconds back to a lap or 2 laps back on our timing tower here.
Let me just say, man, Joe Watts and Frederick Larson, P3 and P4, coming from P10 and P9, respectively. Like great races by them.
Yep.
I want to see if there's gonna be a fight between them here for the last podium place.
Yeah, we'll look at our gain here. Joe Watts up 7 positions. Frederick Larson up 5. Big run there for those two, like you said. Tieko Krigsman's down 1 place from where he started.
And look at Dominic Herbert from P30 up into the points, almost 1 spot away from the points.
Yep,
that's crazy.
Yep, and we have Sean Roberts up 12 spots. Dominic Herbert, like you said, up 19 spots. That just shows what avoiding an incident can do at the beginning of a race. Vincent Saint up 11 spots, and he's had some troubles even, and he's up to within arm's reach of those points. He's in 14th right now. If something goes wrong with a car or two up front, then yeah, we can really see him start trying to close the gap there. And right now, we also have Martinez Janikowskis. He's down 13 spots. James Mollaire, you can see, is down 22 spots, crashed out. So that's going to be a big blow for the Lumos Emo Sports guys. They're going to be relying on Jake Potts to try and score as many points as we can.
And I think there was a problem for Fredrik Larsen. He just went off on his own and got passed by Diego.
Yep.
He went off at the end of the S's, oversteer, and then just couldn't make it.
Nope, that's Jackson Carr, Fredrik Larsen here. There we go. So Larsen, went off track, had to come back on safely. Looks like as his teammate Danny O'Keefe goes by.
That's a big blow to him.
Yeah, that's a rough one because he was flying. He was having some really good times being put down. Kriegsman was making up a bunch of time, but yeah, still, that's an unfortunate one for Fredrik Larsen. He should be able to catch up to his teammate. Him and Danny O'Keefe are fairly close.
And Kriegsman just spun himself on the spoon curve. What is happening to these drivers? Maybe the tires are falling off?
It could be the tires falling off. It could be, the track heating up, but I think the track's actually going the opposite way. I think more so with Kriegsman, he's just pushing so hard to make up the time that he lost from doing almost the same thing, just sliding off, losing the back end. And here we go. We got Danny O'Keefe and Fredrik Larsen, teammates right behind him. Let's see if they can work to make something happen. Because right now we're live and we have Sean Roberts being chased by Eli Cannon. And we have Kriegsman being chased by Danny O'Keefe and Fredrik Larsen, teammates here. Let's see.
Will we now see some team orders from these guys? Because I think Fredrik Larsen is ahead in the championship, so they probably think they talked between themselves that he has more pace, or he'd get an advantage in a situation like this. So I wonder if they'll just let Danny O'Keefe chase Diego here, or if he's just gonna let Fredrik by as soon as he gets the chance.
Yeah, we had very similar orders on the Lumos F3 last year at Silverstone, last race of the season, or second to last race of the season, and we worked out trying to defend. It wasn't the attack, it was the defense. There were points on the track where I felt faster than my teammate, and we decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead. And then there were points on the track where later in the race where I felt my teammate was faster and I was holding him up. So we communicate and just work as a team. If you let a teammate by in a nice orderly fashion and give them some slipstream and kind of slingshot them up towards the person in front of you, in this instance it would be Danny O'Keefe giving a slip to Fredrik Larsen and letting Larsen try and catch up to Kriegsman. That's a huge advantage on Kriegsman, because Kriegsman doesn't have any teammate. He doesn't have that help from somebody behind him. It just goes to show how much teamwork can help. And we're going to jump away from this because Eli Cannon on Dominic Herbert right now.
I just heard Eli Cannon say Dominic to go by because he's pitting this lap. Let's see if it was just mind games or if he's actually just pitting.
Yeah, and we're getting to the point where we're more than halfway through the race. We're 16 laps in. We have 10 laps left. Eli pitting. Ooh,
they're both in. They're both in.
Yep, looks like Dominic Herbert pitting as well. Let's see who can get out of the pit lane first.
Oh, I think Dominic Herbert just played the trick on Eli, because Eli just let him by, basically because he thought he was gonna catch him on the undercut, and then Dominic just stopped as well after he let him by. So that was a good trick on Dominic's part.
Did Dominic stop? It doesn't look like. It looks like he just drove through. Maybe he had an incident cap at 16. He might have gotten a penalty for a drive-through if he was sliding off the track too much. So that's huge. I mean, Eli is going to have a huge advantage on him now. He should be able to just come out.
That's true. He just drove through, actually, so he might have had a penalty for sure then with the incidents. Yep. So he's going to have to stop again, because with a drive-through penalty you cannot stop and change tires and fix your car or whatever. Mm-hmm. So he's just going to have to stop again, change tires and refuel to the end.
Yep.
So that was a penalty for Dominic.
Either that or he had tried to get enough fuel during the first safety car at the end. We went green at the 5th lap of the race, and you know it's a huge undertaking to try and save that much fuel throughout the race. You'd have to go almost 21 laps on a full tank of gas, which I think these cars can only really get about 18. So it'd be a huge undertaking for them to do that. And we're going to jump to Luke Smith on Eli Cannon. 4 cars here, right in a row, all fighting to get up into the points here. We're going to show, instead of our gain, we're going to show our pits. And our pit
seems
lap,
like. Yeah, go ahead.
and we have the top 8 guys have not pit yet. Jake Potts just pit on lap 15, Sean Roberts 14, Luke Mitchell 14, Eli Cannon 15. So they're going to make up a big gap, and they're going to have hot tires. So these guys, drivers, Jake Potts, Sean Roberts, Luke Mitchell, Eli Cannon, Luke Smith, they're all going to be having the advantage of the undercut. And we see Joe Watts, Tieko Krigsman, and Frederick Larson all coming in this lap as I say that.
And it seems like Eli Cannon has a penalty as well. He's just said pitting for a penalty, so maybe he also had a penalty. Maybe that could be, or he thought it was a stop and go penalty and it was a drive-through, so he now still has to serve one. But it's probably speeding in the pits. So yeah, Eli Cannon is just losing positions from that.
Yep, that's extremely unfortunate for Eli. He had a great race going, top 10 qualifying, and he was, really looking at a top 5 maybe even with how clean he was running. Penalties will get you though. They're a 40-second, I think actually 42-second stop, and then wait that 42-second, then go. So a stop and go penalty for speeding in the pits. It will make or break your race sometimes. It's unfortunate to see. We had seen it in the races last year. One of our goofier entrances to a pit lane was Twin Ring Mortegi, and Twin Ring Mortegi was really hard to get into the pits in a timely fashion because it's almost like a chicane, and you're coming in at such high speed on a curve, and then all of a sudden the pit lane's there, and then all of a sudden there's a chicane as well. And we had in the F2 series some drivers that just they couldn't deal with it. They came in, they hadn't practiced throughout the week, and they weren't expecting a chicane in the middle of the pit lane. And you go over to the right, you cut back to the left, and that's why practice is so crucial. And we see Luke Mitchell pushing right up on the back bumper of Sean Roberts.
And pit stops. Diego stopped and Brandon Walker also stopped. Brandon Walker seemed to have had the better stop because he kept that P3. But now we have Danny O'Keefe, 21 seconds back from Tony. Both of them still have to stop. The pit seems to be like 20 seconds here, probably.
Yep, and we see the gap. Danny O'Keefe to Tony Jimenez is about that 20, and they're both going to have to stop. Brandon Walker, 32 seconds back. Ooh, and we see Luke Mitchell and Sean Roberts here fighting it out. Luke Mitchell gets the job done and gets by Sean Roberts, but Sean Roberts isn't going to go down without a fight. They're fairly close on pace. Ooh, and we have a crash by Eric Beddoes, it seems. Eric was back in 17th. Joel Abney crashed. Eric Beddoes crashed again. Let's see what happened here. Joel Abney coming through the S's. One of our newest drivers here. Oof. Wow, what accident avoidance. Great job by...
Great accident avoidance there by Emanuela, but I think he just stepped on the curb and, the car is just gone there. There's nothing you can do at that point.
Yep, and there's Abney just trying to get back on track and get going. It's a hard task in these S's to try and get on track without somebody coming by, especially this late in the race. Everybody's spread out so far. You just have to keep an eye on your relative. Always great to have that up during the race, but yeah, it's going to be huge for these drivers.
Danny O'Keefe is in the pits.
Yep,
Danny O'Keefe is in for a pit stop.
Julie Redmond as well. O'Keefe right there, you can see him. He's up, getting his tires done, and out he goes. And here we go. We're going to have a race coming out. And there is Krigman coming down the straight. Can O'Keefe stay in front of him? Ooh, it looks like that undercut's not really going to work for him. Krigman just squeezes by. And
Just
now
barely.
Now O'Keefe is going to really have to get those tires up to temp and try and race down Krigman. And let's hope that O'Keefe doesn't try and push too hard here. It looks like Jimenez has pit as well on lap 18. Our current lap is 19, so he just pit last lap. And Brandon Walker is 7.5 seconds behind. Joe Watts is 5.1 seconds behind. And
I think
Krigman,
maybe Tiago just had a bad outlap there after the pit stop, and that's why it was so close, because I think he would have easily gotten by Danny O'Keefe there after the stops. So yeah, but still great laps by Danny O'Keefe, it seems.
Yep.
He's just been doing a great job before the stop.
Yep, and last season Danny O'Keefe came out and he surprised us at Silverstone. That's probably his home track, if I had to guess, or his favorite track, because he came out, just ran away with the race, other than Caitlin Height, who had won our championship and Constructors' Championship. Danny O'Keefe really pushed that race and just showed us, his true potential. He came in second. He was running the same pace as what our champion at the time, Caitlin Height, was running. So it just goes to show that Danny O'Keefe might have a little bit under the hood that we're not seeing quite yet.
Yeah, but now we see Frederick Larson here behind him. Just maybe now is the time they're gonna swap positions, because I think Frederick Larson is just so close to him.
Yeah,
and he's on harder tires, so he's got a lot more pace. So maybe we'll see a swap here.
Yep, and Larson looks like he's going to do the swap. He's got 2 laps more on those tires than O'Keefe, and O'Keefe just stays an extra bit wide, and he just lets Larson go. Larson's going to try and catch up to Krigman here. We're going to look back a couple spots as we see Sean Roberts. Yeah, we have a bunch of cars here down the straight. A couple are lapped, a couple are not, but Sean Roberts here fighting Julie Redmond, who is now in the points in 8th. Trying to get by her. Ooh, car sliding off on Luke Mitchell. He gains a little traction, jumps back into it. But Luke Smith here is, he's pushing, trying to keep on track. He's in 12th currently. And Vincent Saint and Luke Mitchell in front of him fighting.
It's like the big fight is up there for the top 5. And like I said before the race, maybe I had my guessing right, because Frederick Larson seems to be having a great race so far. Apart from that half spin there at the start at the early laps, but I still think he can threaten a bit Tiago for that P4.
Yep,
what do you think?
You see that time just going down little bit by little bit. Larson now down to a 1.4 second gap. He definitely can, and his teammate O'Keefe, his tires are starting to get up to speed, up to temp. They got 5 laps left to make this happen. They're definitely within reach. And we see Sean Roberts here, and Luke Mitchell fighting. We have a couple more cars here fighting for those last couple points. Jake Potts sitting in 7th. He's kind of on an island here. He's 2 seconds back from O'Keefe, and 13 seconds behind him is Julie Redmond in 8th. So his fight is going to be to try and get up to O'Keefe right now. And it looks like he might be able to get it done. He's, he's 2.5 seconds back, and he's making up a little bit of time. I don't know if O'Keefe is holding off because of Frederick Larson in front of him. But yeah, Krigman here can definitely be threatened by Larson and O'Keefe if they're working together here.
I think just on pure pace, Larson cannot catch him like that. But I'm still hopeful of a mistake by Krigman. As we've seen, he drives very much on the edge there. And I'm not trying to cast the commentator's curse on him, but we've seen that happen before. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what is going to happen.
Yep, and we see Krigman throwing it on the inside of a lapped car for Team Banana, and Alberg here is giving a little bit of a slip to Frederick Larson, and in turn maybe Danny O'Keefe behind, but Larson going by, getting just a slingshot there, down to 1.3 seconds there for a moment. We see Danny O'Keefe, he might get a little bit of that same thing. Nope, doesn't look like it. Frederick Larson closing that gap, 1.3 seconds now down the back straight. And this gap, it opens up and it closes down depending on where they are in the track. Down the straights, we know Krigsman's got that lower downforce. In the middle sections, we know that some of these other cars have that higher downforce, so it can really make or break where they catch that car on the track. Like you said, that infield, the lower speed sections, it's hard to overtake. The S's, it's almost impossible to overtake. So
from turn 1 up until the hairpin, those corners are almost important to use as an overtaking spot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we're seeing O'Keefe here really pushing, but he's falling back from his teammate Larson, who is down to 1.5 seconds here through the S's. And this is where Krigsman was making up a bunch of time. Looks like Krigsman might have had a slightly bad line here, because he gives up a little bit of time. 1.5 seconds now. We are on lap 22 of 26. We're going to jump back to Luke Mitchell, who has a run on Sean Roberts here within a half second. Going through the S's. We're going to see...
And regardless of that P4, I think the top 3 is pretty much set. I mean, those gaps aren't gonna close on the last 3 laps. And I think the podium is pretty much set. So just focus on our attentions. Focus our attentions on the battles in the midfield, and probably there's only one right now for that last few points places.
Yep, and we have Luke Mitchell, this is our closest battle right now, and this is for the last couple points, whether you're getting 2 or 1 point. But Frederick Larson down to a 1.2 second gap. We're going to keep an eye on that coming up on the last few laps here, because if he can get that down to within about 3/4 of a second, he'll be within that slipstream of Tieco. And when you're in that slipstream, that gap closes so much quicker. And we see Mitchell trying to go on the inside, doesn't think that's going to work. Tries going on the outside, getting right there, right up behind him. He's going to stay right behind him all the way up until the chicane here. We see Sean Roberts taking the defensive line. Luke Mitchell getting a better run out of the turn, though. He should be able to get by him down the straightaway here. And these drivers have been fighting almost all race. Luke Mitchell and Sean Roberts, great driving from these guys, just phenomenal. They are side by side. Who's going to have the advantage going in? Just a little bit of advantage to Luke Mitchell. Sean Roberts sticking right to his bumper, though. And I know at this point we're getting into everybody has some lap traffic that they're trying to get through. And we're going to jump to the battle going on right now. Larson has turned it up within 0.75 seconds.
And he just has it at Degner too, completely sideways, man. Just that's going to be a great picture at the end when we watch the replay. That just shows how much he's pushing to catch this P4.
Yep, and we have, that gap just slowly going down, and Tieco Krigsman is, he's trying to catch up to Joe Watts as best he can, but at this point you say, okay, Joe Watts is almost 5 seconds ahead. The podium is probably out of the picture. I have to just keep going to get Frederick Larson off my tail, because Larson has turned it up.
Yeah, he's probably looking more in his mirrors than he's looking in front. I don't think he has the objective of getting a podium at this point. So he's just focusing on not making any mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure Larson is doing the same. They just cannot make any mistakes and just trying to close that gap, stay in the slipstream. But he's over 1 second now again. So
yep, Larson with a little bit of overdrive into the corner, I think. Going slightly wide, that's going to hurt him, especially with only 3 laps left. These cars are really going to be on edge. They're low fuel. They're sliding around a little bit more than normal. You have lapped cars going in front of you. Julie Redmond's setting the fastest lap of the race, 152.7 right now. Great job from her.
that's gonna be an extra point then there at the end.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting from someone, you know, almost out of the points. I was expecting like Tony or Tiago to set the fastest lap, but yeah, Julie just manages to steal that fastest lap point then for the race.
Yep, and we had Jaco Krigsman was holding on to it for a little while. Tony Jimenez was holding on to it for a little while. Larson even had it for a lap or two, but you know, Julie Redmond now with low fuel, she's got, you know, tires are worn in. She is honed in to try and catch up to Jake Potts. She's only 2 seconds. She's only 2 seconds behind Jake Potts.
And Julie's also not fighting anyone, so she has like clean air, no wheel-to-wheel action, so she can just focus on hitting every apex, just getting every exit right. And she just barely managed to get the fastest lap from Tiago with 600s or 700s. So that was just barely. And I don't think Tiago is gonna be able to get the fastest lap because, you know, fighting is always gonna distract you a little bit, and you know, there's no way he can then focus on setting a fastest lap. He probably doesn't want to risk a mistake either. He feels comfortable just 1 second in front with 1 lap to go or 2 laps to go. So I'm sure he isn't gonna risk going for an extra point, risking losing a P4 for an extra point.
Yep. Yeah, it is. You know, at this point, just damage control. He's trying to keep Larson at bay. You know, and just prepare for, you know, the end of the race here, because, you know, anything can happen. Lap cars are still a factor. Frederick Larson's pushing within a second now. He really has to kind of concentrate and just lock it down, make sure he's hitting his lines, make sure he's hitting, you know, his exits, his apexes. Just, it's all just mental game right now for Krigsman.
Yeah, and great performance here once again by the Orion team. I mean, starting P8 and P9 in there to P5 and P6. You know, they're running together and they've done a great job so far, I think.
Yep. Yeah, some unfortunate you know, circumstances there for Julie Redmond, getting caught up early on in the restart and sliding off the track there. Brandon Walker up in second, though, making up for some of those points lost. Jake Potts, he's had a couple of slide outs, but his teammate for Lumos is out of the race. And so not a great race for the team overall for Jake Potts. You know, some of these drivers losing their teammates, it plays mentally on you. And we have lap car coming up here for Larson and Krigsman to try and get by as they come to the last lap here shortly.
And I think at this point we can see the gap to P2 starting to close a bit, but I think that's just, it was like P6, it was like 5 seconds, now it's 4, but I think that's just Tony Jimenez taking it easy because, you know, 1 lap to go, there's no point in opening the 4-second gap, so he's just gonna cruise to the win.
Yeah,
basically.
and we have a lot of traffic coming up here for Krigsman and Larson to try and get around. Larson within 0.9 seconds. The S's, he normally makes up a few seconds or a few tenths of a second. And Tiago going a little wide maybe. Frederick Larson within striking distance. 0.6 seconds, 0.5 seconds. Wow. Redmond setting another fastest lap. 152.654. She definitely wants that extra point, and she's pushing up behind Jake Potts, who had a little bit of a slip up earlier that we didn't jump to, because this has just been one heck of a battle here all the way to the end. It's going to come down to that back straight if Frederick Larson can get into that slipstream and make a move. And Luke Smith looks like he had slipped down, slid off track, and probably crashed out there. But here we go. This is going to set it up for the back stretch here. Frederick Larson having not as good of an exit as Krigsman does, but he's within the slip, so he's getting that extra boost of speed. We do this every week. Tony Jimenez coming down the back straight. We're going to jump back and forth between these drivers here. 0.4 seconds. Tiago being pressured hard. 0.6 seconds. Frederick Larson. Let's see if it's going to come down to the last chicane. Tony Jimenez coming through 2.5 seconds to Brandon Walker. He was just having a little bit of race control. We're going to see Tony Jimenez come across the line as our Japanese Grand Prix race winner. He is happy. Look at him go there. Brandon Walker taking home in second. Joe Watson third. And look at Tieco Krigsman and Frederick Larson. Wow, what a battle these guys had in the last bit. Frederick Larson chasing down Krigsman. Just can't make it happen. 1 or 2 more laps, and I think he might have him, but what a great defensive showing.
We saw the mistake from Tieco there at the start of the last lap, and that's what I was expecting to happen. Like he had a half spin in the middle of the race, and I was expecting something big. Fortunately for him, nothing happened like that. Just a small wide moment. But you see the gap just closed, and Frederick was ready to take that position if he could.
Yep, and that is. What a great race from everybody there. Tony Jimenez really putting a gap to the rest of the field. Krigsman trying to make his way back through the field. It was just an awesome race by these drivers. Everybody was fighting somewhere on the track, and that's exactly what we like to see. You know, all the way back in 20th place, we were seeing fights. 15th place, we were seeing fights. 10th, 5th, all the way up into our top 4. You know, people fighting throughout the whole track. Julie Redmond, the same kind of result there. Trying to chase down Jake Potts, just like Frederick Larson was trying to chase down Krigsman there. And Redmond, we saw getting the fastest lap. Great job for her. That gets her the extra point. She gets 8th, which gets her some points. So great recovery since she had slid off the track there at the start of the restart after the yellow. So Just goes to show, you know, some of these drivers' mental fortitude to be able to recover. But we're going to try and pull in to the broadcast here. We're going to try and pull in our race winner and our top 3. And get them into our broadcast booth. Who do you think is driver of the day, though, as of right now?
Probably I'd have to give it to Joe Watson there. I mean, he made it from P10 to P3, so he's probably happy with that podium. But if I have to pick like top 3 drivers, you know, I'd go with the Orion boys, P5 and P6. They worked together, and then at the end Frederick really had the chance to catch Tieco there. Unfortunately for him, didn't work, but I still think those are my top 3 drivers if I had to pick: Joe Watts and Frederick Larson and then O'Keefe.
Yeah, great driving from these drivers. Really kept us on our toes. And I do want to point out Brandon Walker, great job from him. You know, he really put on the burners today. I mean, it was kind of I don't want to say it was an uneventful race for him, but he qualified high, higher than we are used to seeing him. He's normally close to that top 5, maybe breaking that top 5, but he's normally not on the podium. So great job for Brandon Walker to show the consistency that we know he does have, and for us to see him finally get on that podium. I know he's been hungry for it for the Kuda Works team. So let's try and we're going to bring, I think he'll be our first interview. Let's bring Brandon Walker into the booth here. Hey Brandon, we got you in the booth. You copy?
Yep, I got you guys.
So great race, phenomenal race, second place there. What was going through your head throughout that race? It almost seemed, I was kind of just saying now, almost uneventful, but it wasn't, you know, you just had blistering pace to keep up there with Jimenez. You know, very good consistency. What was going through your head throughout the race?
Well, yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. Honestly, I was glad I was able to match race pace throughout the week, and that was able to keep those times in the low 52s or 53s this race session as well, and even before practice. But just really wanted to keep a clean race. The early caution kind of threw me off, but you know, that stuff's gonna happen. So we were even debating about pitting during that yellow, but I kind of wanted to do what the leader was doing. So you know, lost the position in the beginning, but thankfully avoided the spin he had. Tough luck to him, but ultimately I just wanted to be consistent and knew I wasn't gonna be able to challenge for a win, but some laps was able to match race pace, so was just able that we came around with second.
Yeah, great job to avoid any wrecking in T1. We had our wreck wasn't even in T1. It was on the straight.
Oh
A
wow.
car stalled back behind you guys about halfway through the grid. So the biggest thing was halfway down the grid. Everybody from there back had to dodge a still car. So it was a little bit of a surprise for us too up here in the booth. But those things happen, and we carry on. We get a yellow. We start back up. Teammate Julie seemed to have a hard time on the restart. I think she slid off going into turn, I want to say it was 7 or 8. And then she had a great recovery. She had the fastest lap of the race, along with closing into, I believe it was 8th place there at the end.
Yeah,
So,
that was tough luck. We always practice together, so our times are pretty similar. But yeah, I was a little didn't know what happened. I just didn't see her in my rear view anymore. But she's good at recovering most of the time, and it's good that she got into the points, so we'll take that as well.
yep, yeah, team points are always a good thing. Finishing 8th for Julie, 2nd for yourself, so that's a big 18 points. We'll have to go back and see for safety, but I want to say you and Jimenez were really, really clean this race. I don't think had any off tracks or safety points, so it might be close. If Jimenez had a slip up anywhere, then you might be in for another point or two.
Yeah, think I had about one off track, so you know,
Yeah,
I'll
I
take
can
that.
confirm that Jimenez will take the point for safest driver. He had 0 incidents and Brandon got 1, so just barely missing out.
Yeah, that's sometimes the difference is just that one little off track or slip up or just going a little wider than you wanted to. So, but overall, great race from you, Brandon. We're gonna leave you there. Any shout outs that you want to give to anybody?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and shout out my team Kuda and Lewis Archer for all the support, and as well as Julie. Big thanks to the admins for uh, having this league going and monitoring the race session and things like that, doing the best they can. And big thanks to you guys in the booth.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you. We'll leave you at that. Great job, Brandon. Great P2, and hopefully we'll see you on the podium again next week.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, now we have Tony Jimenez here, our race winner. Tony, uh, what was going through your head that whole race? You seem to have it essentially in the bag from the beginning. What what do you have to say about your pace and just how wide open it was in front of you? Looks like he is muted here. He might have stepped away from his mic, so we'll jump over to Joe Watts instead. Joe, how you doing after that race?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting a podium, but yeah, I just kept my nose clean in that one, and yeah, luckily came out on the in the third spot.
Yep, we hear it from you a lot. So far, you've gotten a couple podiums this season, and you're not expecting them, but you somehow end up on the podium each time. It's that clean racing, that consistent racing is really paying off, and you're slightly behind the pace from the race winners, but you're normally within a tenth or two, and able to make that up with that consistency. So great job on you to get onto the podium again. Some fights there at the beginning with Brandon Walker. A couple other spots throughout the first couple laps there where you were having to fight some people off. What was going through your mind throughout the whole first couple restart laps there?
Well, after the safety car restart, everyone was very very close. I sort of was caught napping a bit on the restart and dropped back a little bit, which was probably the better thing to happen. It was a blessing in disguise, really, as everyone started to collide. And I think I said to you before, like these races, you obviously need to be quick to be up the front, but it's all about keeping your nose clean and driving with your head rather than going for that dive up the inside on lap 3 and ruining your race. yeah, I just worked my way through them. I knew that I had the pace for sort of top five. I mean, before practice, I was doing 55s, and I was thinking, yeah, this is just going to be a damage limitation, like race weekend. But yeah, after I had a bit of a hold up in qualifying, which would have seen me probably go P4, P5. So it left me work during the race, but really it was probably, like I say, a blessing in disguise starting further back, because it kept me out of the carnage and allowed me to pick them off one by one and come through for the podium.
Yep, yeah, great job there doing that. We saw the racetrack was a little hotter than what we've been seeing throughout practice during the week. So our fastest lap was a 152.5, I believe, for our qualifying, and the track seemed to just get a little bit hotter as the race went on. So that was something to keep an eye on, and you know, that 155 during practice, that wasn't too far off of what the other drivers were running. So great job on you to get up to speed really quickly. And you know, like you said, cut yourself through the field one by one, get up into P3. So great job overall. Suzuka this week, I believe it is Imola next week. What do you got planned for going into that race?
Hopefully I can find some time to do some more practice. Like I didn't actually own Suzuka and iRacing until about an hour before practice. I bought it and did sort of 15-20 laps and was like, okay, yeah, I'm quite off the pace. I'll see what I go like in the session. I didn't do anything with the setup. I just ran the iRacing Suzuka setup, which was okay. It was sort of the best sort of both worlds. It didn't have very much speed down the straight, but it gave me the confidence in the corners. But yeah, next week I'm going to try and get some more practice. And I've raced at Imola before last year with you guys, so I went okay there before. So yeah, hopefully we have a bit of a better time and we can catch these front guys. The DriveX guys, they're so fast. It'd be nice to sort of battle amongst them.
Yep, yeah, they have blistering pace. Tony Jimenez winning this race, Victor Barris winning the last two races. They just got tons of time. So, but you know, you've been on the podium twice. You finished in points, I think, all three races so far. And you know, without Victor Barris being there, that kind of puts you up there in the points, or at least it should. With him missing this week, team-wise, they might be okay, but you know, driver championship wise, you might be able to close in on them.
Yeah, I've closed in. I looked at the points just before I came into this interview. Annoyingly, Tony has now jumped me by 1 point where he won. But yeah, I've closed the gap to Victor. So yeah, hopefully it shapes up to be a good battle for the top 5 in the championship.
Yep. Yeah, we saw the last couple seasons the drivers' championship just run away with. So it's nice to see some closer battles in the points, and even between teammates. Tony Jimenez might be able to give Victor Barris a run for his money, and you never know. These drivers get into each other. You know, in a race, they're both fighting for position. There's no team orders, and you know, they touch, they go wide, they run each other wide. They're battling, which slows drivers down. It might open up the door for, you know, a Brandon Walker or Joe Watts to step in and try and you know, fight them a bit. So it'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, definitely. I need a bit of Rosberg-Hamilton rivalry between the two DriveX guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. That would cause a little bit of slowdown, and hopefully, you know, let the rest of the field catch up a bit. But for the most part, great race, very clean, very consistent. So we'll see you next week at Imola. Any shout-outs that you want to give to anybody?
Yeah, thanks very much as normal for this event. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Imola. I'll shout out XRL, which is the team I'm running with, and also my company SRM, which is sponsoring the league, Sim Racing Mods.
Awesome. Well, let's hope we see you again on the podium next week and talk to you again in an interview. But if not, we will see you at Imola on the track. Great talking with you, Joe Watts. You have a great rest of the week.
Yeah, Andrew, thanks very much. See you later.
All right, so we have Tony Jimenez in here. He is muted. Let's see if we can't get him unmuted here. It looks like he is. Tony, great race here.
Hello.
Thank you. Yeah, great race. You know, blistering pace. You were out front very early, and you just seemed to run away with this one.
Yeah, whoa. What a race. I had all the ways of the team today, and the best start with the pace car made me nervous on the first lap. cold tires, cold brakes, even the cold engine. And then when the pace car left, they accelerated quickly, and it seems like I was everyone confused and able to escape.
Yep. Yeah, you had a big jump off the safety car. It seemed like a late jump trying to confuse everybody, and it seems like that might have worked because everybody kind of got a late jump themselves. So you were out to almost a second gap right away. So I'm sure that helped get out front, and then everybody else behind you was fighting each other throughout the race. So that I'm sure helped build that gap. But the last few laps we saw you slow down a bit just to kind of keep the car under control. What's going through your head at the end of the race there? You essentially have it. You essentially have the race won. Everybody behind you, they're not closing the gap. So it's almost like a couple victory laps at that point, right?
Yeah, right. The last laps, I was losing time because I was controlling Brandon.
Yep.
More seconds behind me. And the last lap, I saw two lapped cars behind me and ahead me, and I saw they are fighting, and I didn't want to make them nervous and let them fight because I was slowed down and controlling Brandon 2 seconds behind.
Yep. Yeah.
That was a victory.
Yep. Yeah. That's always nice having those last couple laps where you can just kind of do that race control and it's not a fight to the very end. But we saw a couple drivers behind you. Tieco Krigsman had the pace to keep up with you, but he just he slid off the track a couple times. So he ended up finishing fourth.
Yeah, that's correct. When the safety car goes, Tieco was catching me lap after lap, and then I seen him nervous, but maybe he has go away. I don't know what happened.
Yep. Yeah, it seemed like he was trying to push a little too much and just pushed too far and caught a little bit of curb.
The SS sector, right?
Yep. He looked like he might have caught just a little bit of curb or grass, and that just sent him spinning, and he had to recover from there. Great recovery up in the fourth, but he did it again later on. He was starting to close the gap to Joe Watts and Brandon Walker, but he did it again coming out of one of the turns later in the sectors, and he, just had to. If he had that consistency, then I think he's right there with you fighting at the end.
Yep, but that was easy. I mean, seems easy today.
Mm-hmm. But we'll leave
Next
you
time
there.
We'll see with Victor. Victor and team orders.
Yeah, Victor Barris, your teammate, he not being here today kind of left it open for you to try and take the win. With Victor being gone this week, next week he should be here. I believe we're at Imola next week. Do you think you'll have the advantage or your teammate Victor will have the advantage?
Well, we'll see who's the faster, and then we'll see if we can fight.
Yeah, will you guys let each other by, or will you guys fight for the race?
Yes, we can fight. And the last week when we raced to Interlagos, the first lap I was very close, but with the tires cold, I don't want to fight with them. Then I was behind here.
Yep.
Then and the rest of the race, his pace was really fast, more fast than me. Then there is any battle, there is any order of team, but his victory was real.
Yep. Perfect. Well, thank you again for coming out. Do you want to thank anybody before we let you go?
Thank you very much.
All right, Tony. It was a pleasure talking with you. That is going to be it for our race broadcast here. Week 3 here is all wrapped up for the Formula 3. We move on to the Formula 1 coming up here in a couple hours. But, Carlos, you have anything else about that race that we just saw?
I just want to say it was a great race, great first experience for me as a broadcaster. And I expect to see more battles like today.
Yep, yeah, great battles all throughout the field. We love to see it. Everybody out there, we want to thank our sponsors, Butt Kicker, Designs Ltd, Majors Garage, SRM, as Joe had shouted out as well. Sim Racing Mods, they're one of our sponsors for this upcoming season for the F3 in particular. But we want to thank all of them. Butt Kicker gives us prizes at the end of the season for our F1 drivers. So thank you to all of them. Anything else you wanna say or shout out for Carlos before we get out of here?
Well, just shout out to the league as every other driver has done. But yeah, you guys are really putting on a show here. And just having every single series being broadcast is just a great thing to see. And hopefully more people will be interested in watching these races.
Yep, and if you're watching and you want to come out and join, the F3 is wide open for anybody to join. You like seeing what you guys are seeing on the racetrack, come join us. We'd love to have you out, get you signed up, and get you racing in a car alongside all these guys, Tony Jimenez, Brandon Walker, and Joe Watts. They'd like to have some competition up there with them. So come join
commentating
us.
As well.
Yep, yeah, and commentators too. We're always looking to help out. Get some personnel trained up, help you out with how this all works. So we're always in look for some volunteers and some new drivers. So, but we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Carlos, for joining me. We'll see you guys next week, week 4 at Imola.
See you.